Welcome to the America 250 PA Start Here, America Did podcast, telling the unique stories that make up the diverse fabric of Pennsylvania.
Welcome back to our Start Here, America Did podcast. I'm Sydney Harris, and today we're diving into a topic that touches every Pennsylvanian, north, south, east, and west, and that is Pennsylvania's diverse and exquisite environment. With nearly 60% of our land covered in forests, 86,000 miles of rivers and streams, and some of the most diverse wildlife in the Northeast, it's easy to take for granted just how special our environment truly is. But here's the thing, our natural spaces don't stay beautiful on their own. They need us. From the largest free-roaming elk herd east of the Mississippi to the once endangered bald eagles soaring over our waterways, Pennsylvania's wildlife depends on clean air, healthy forests, and unpolluted streams to thrive. Even our tiny, hardworking bats, which eat thousands of mosquitoes each night, rely on safe hibernation sites. And with Pennsylvania experiencing a rare double cicada emergence in 2025, something that only happens once every 221 years, it's a reminder that nature has its own incredible timeline, one that we all play a role in preserving. Unfortunately, litter, pollution, and illegal dumping threaten our Commonwealth's natural treasures. I know I've had moments where I've gone hiking in some of Pennsylvania's most beautiful areas, like Bald Eagle State Park and Boyce Mayview Park, only to see litter tossed on the ground. It's frustrating, right? But instead of just walking by, organizations like Keep PA Beautiful remind us that we can actually do something about it. That's why today, we're talking with Heidi Pedicone, Director of Programs for Keep PA Beautiful, about how we can all be better stewards of our environment, not just during Earth Month, but every month. Whether it's cleaning up a local park, planting native wildflowers, or simply thinking twice before tossing that piece of trash, every action adds up. Because at the end of the day, Pennsylvania's beauty isn't just something to admire, it's something to protect. Heidi, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Keep PA Beautiful does some incredible work across the Commonwealth. Can you start by sharing its mission and what makes it so unique from other environmental organizations?
Our mission is to empower Pennsylvanians to keep communities clean and beautiful. Our vision is a pretty simple one. It's simply a clean and beautiful Pennsylvania. But what makes us a little bit unique is the way that we kind of carry out our mission and work across the state, which is a little bit of a grassroots approach to community improvement, basically. So we work at the statewide level to kind of, gather resources and create programs that we can offer and collaborate with our network of local affiliates that we have. Sometimes we kind of call those like our boots on the ground folks that work locally. We have a little more than 30 of those local groups, and some of those are in cities and counties and even multiple counties, but that's just one way that we work to get our mission accomplished and our programming out to all 67 counties in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
So I'm curious about you, Heidi. What sparked your passion for environmental work and what led you to join Keep PA Beautiful?
I grew up in an area near Lynn Run State Park. That's in Southwest Pennsylvania. And I happened to have the fortunate ability to grow up pretty deep in the woods that had a stream in the backyard. And this stream was kind of my happy place. Like I could spend an entire day wading in the stream, flipping rocks over, just exploring and playing outside. So I was kind of fortunate to be able to use that area, which was in the Laurel Highlands, as kind of my play space. So then moving on to college, studying environmental and marine science was just kind of a natural progression. I went to college also in Pennsylvania in the Pocono Mountains in the Delaware Water Gap area. So then I had the ability and the fortunate ability to explore that area through college. But there was something about kind of seeing all the corners of Pennsylvania that just sort of solidified in me just how beautiful this state is. And no matter where I ended up traveling, or even to this day, if I travel out of state, there's just something about returning to Pennsylvania that just kind of feels Right. So then after college, I just taught a little bit of a field station outside of the state. And I worked for an environmental for-profit company. But then I just decided to give the nonprofit environmental world a try. Ended up here at the time, it was PA Cleanways. Now we are Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful. And I started getting right into doing cleanups and volunteer events. And pretty soon, and I was pretty hooked. So I intended to stay here at the organization for just a couple of years, and that was just about 25 years ago. So I have just not quite been able to find anything that I like to do better than to work for Pennsylvania, and just have developed such an amazing appreciation for people that want to improve their communities and kind of want to make their own little corner of the earth better looking and clean and beautiful.
And Pennsylvania really does deserve all of that work that you're doing. So it's so wonderful to hear your passion and how you've devoted 25 years to this work. And speaking of individuals who are also encouraged to do this, your organization runs several impactful programs. Can you highlight some of your key initiatives and how they are making a difference in Pennsylvania communities?
Absolutely. We've got just a ton of great programs here. And one of the reasons that I think that all of our programs make such an impact is because we do a lot of research here. And then we develop these programs right on the heels of that research. And what I mean by that, so for instance, in 2019, we collaborated with the Department of Environmental Protection and the Department of Transportation, and we conducted the first ever kind of joint agency litter research study. And what we did was we actually contracted with someone that went out and drove all of these different transection areas across the state, did a full litter count. And we also did that in conjunction with a count of how much money was being spent on litter resources and picking up litter across the state. So what came out of that litter research study was that at any given time, there are more than 500 million pieces of litter on Pennsylvania's roadways. And then the results of this went into the state's first ever litter action plan. And this was the first time really that, we had research and documentation of this enormous litter problem across the state. So from that litter action plan, that was actually at the time that Governor Wolf was in office. But this litter action plan kind of brought together hundreds of stakeholders from state government and local government and businesses. And we were able to put together kind of like a list of how we're going to hit this litter problem from all different angles moving forward. We know that we need a multi-pronged approach to reduce litter in Pennsylvania. We also know from this that people need access to convenient and affordable disposal and recycling. We need some behavior change strategies. And of course, education is vital to this problem too. And not only for children, but also adult education for all things about the negative consequences of litter and illegal dumping and invasive species and vacant properties and blights. All of those make a huge impact. So really, when we take that research and all of these things that we've learned over our 35 years of experience, and then we put those into programs, we find that those programs are really impactful and we get really great results across the state.
I am just so shocked by the number of 500 million. That is an insane number, especially when, I just did some quick math here. I looked up how many Pennsylvanians there are, and there's about 13 million. And so if let's say every Pennsylvanian littered, which I really hope they do not, that's about 38 pieces of litter per Pennsylvanian. So that is a crazy large number. And so I'm just so glad that your organization exists to combat this. And speaking of that, there is a program that you run called Pick Up Pennsylvania. This program mobilizes thousands of volunteers each year, thousands. What measurable impact have these efforts had? And what do you think keeps these people coming back each year?
Yeah, this program, this Pick Up Pennsylvania, this is the state's largest community improvement program, and it is overwhelming. Just like you're just blown away by how large those litter numbers get, knowing what is possible when everybody in Pennsylvania kind of bands together for this initiative is unbelievable. So just last year alone, we had more than 77,000 volunteers come together to remove this litter that, we just talked about is on our roadways. And every single one of those folks registered and reported through us, through our office. And collectively, we saw 3.3 million pounds of trash removed from hillsides, picked up from local areas, sometimes collected from community cleanups. And even as bad as 3.3 million pounds of trash that is now no longer on our landscape, these folks also removed 46,000 tires. It's just, these are unbelievable numbers, and this was just done in 1 year. So we also had these 77,000 volunteers planted more than 14,000 trees and flowers. We cleaned 6,500 miles of roadway, which, thinking about that, that's twice the width of the United States. And that was both roadways and waterways. So we see every single one of the 67 counties participate in this statewide community improvement event. So it's just wildly successful. This year, we're even kind of kicking it up a little notch we've got a Lens on Litter contest where people can submit a before and after photo of an area that has litter that they've, then cleaned up and removed. And we've even kicked in a contest this year for conservation districts to, kind of have this trash competition. But anybody that wants to participate in this event, they have to register and report through us on our website, which is keeppabeautiful.org. But then they even get access to free bags, gloves, and vests as supplies last. So it's a really great program. It's a really great event. And we're hoping to kind of have everybody take this as a challenge to see if we can't even get more than 77,000 volunteers engaged this year. See if we can take last year's numbers and kind of blow it out of the water would be great.
Well, you just won me over, so count that as 77,001 volunteer. But so that is incredible. And the 500 million was so shocking. It almost seemed undoable. How could you clean that up? But just to hear that many volunteers participated in cleaning up 3.3 million pounds of trash is just something that's so inspiring. And so I just would like to take a little bit of a shift because to help the problem, you first need to discuss it. And so I would just like to have your take, especially as you have a unique perspective working at Keep PA Beautiful for 25 years. What do you think are the biggest environmental challenges that Pennsylvania faces today? And how do they compare to what we've seen in the past?
Personally, I think our biggest problem that we have is climate change. But with our mission here at Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful, we kind of zero in on the community improvement part of environmental challenges. So I think this focus on community improvement is more important now than ever because this allows each and every one of us to kind of, to think globally, but act locally. If every single person in Pennsylvania kind of took ownership over how their street or their block looked or their road and picked up that litter periodically, this in turn would make our entire state clean and beautiful. And this also allows each of us to have a little more pride in our neighborhoods or our communities. We'd like to say that we think that people and places are profoundly connected. And I really think that that's true. Just like I talked about, having a happy place growing up, you want to take that place where you live, you want to clean it up, make it look aesthetically beautiful. And it just kind of transforms your mind to, being a little healthier, feeling a little healthier. And, we would like to make this contagious and meaning that if my neighbors see me picking up just a little bit of litter or a little bit of trash, then they're going to be inclined to. And then my kids are going to see me do that too. So, that's just something that we see people getting a little more interested in. I mean, people have always done cleanups and picked up litter, but it's just becoming a little more important for people to have a better sense of community.
I agree. And addressing these issues, as you said, requires a lot of teamwork. Could you talk to us a little bit more about the community aspect? How does Keep PA Beautiful collaborate with local communities, businesses, and even policymakers to create lasting environmental change?
Yeah, it's so important. So and partnering with local organizations and individuals, it's essential to achieve sustainable community improvement. This is actually one of our core values as an organization. We know it's essential to long-lasting success. This is sometimes why, we rely so heavily on our affiliate network, and also sometimes why we kind of refer to them as like our boots on the ground. They are the ones locally that are working side by side with community groups. So we like to work to just be able to support our affiliates where those are located, and where there aren't affiliates, we work with groups to form them, or just work with independent, with municipalities and boroughs or cities. We kind of give technical assistance to anybody and everybody. And we've just found that that's achieves longer lasting success by partnering.
I'd love to hear, is there a particular cleanup, restoration, or partnership effort that stands out as a major success story?
Yeah, we've got lots of them. I think one that I tend to like a whole lot is it's a mini grant program. So it's not so much one particular area, but it's the idea that we can take some resources or some money from sometimes businesses, local groups, and kind of turn that into a larger return on investment for our community. So, for instance, one particular instance that we have with working on that is through the Giant Company. So the Giant Company came to us years ago, and they have this really neat program called Roundup at the Register. So for the spring months leading up to Earth Day, leading up to April, when you're at a Giant grocery store, they'll just say, do you want to round up your amount of money that you're giving? And sometimes that's, just 15 or 20 cents. People round up at the register, and then the Giant Company committed to giving that money back into local communities where their stores operate. But to do that, they actually ended up giving that money to us. And then we take it from there. We put an application together, and then all of these local groups can then apply directly to us for these mini grants. Now, this particular program is called Healing the Planet. And we have had that funding from the Giant Company for 4 years so far, but that has equated to more than 140 grants that we were then able to give out to the community. And these grants ranged in amounts. Some of them were as small as $500, and some of them went all the way up. The highest amount we had was $20,000. But those grants are so vital for these community groups that are working, every day to take care of different environmental projects in their local area, but funding is always a challenge. So, Giant has allowed us to be able to give this funding out for invasive species removal and kids' education programs and, you name it, a whole gamut of different environmental projects. And they have given us that funding has totaled more than $1.2 million over 4 years. So it's just the idea that we can, take this pot of money, turn it back into local grants, and really any business can jump into that idea. And that's also something that we're doing similar with America 250 PA and getting those grants back out to folks to support that work.
It's great to hear that this funding is going towards local communities. And I am even more ecstatic to hear that it's going towards invasive species removal. I'm sure there's plenty of Pennsylvanians who are just so tired of the lanternfly. And so that's how they can relate to this. It's an impact that affects all of us. So moving forward and looking to the future, are there any upcoming projects or events that you're especially excited about that our listeners should know about?
Yeah, I think what comes to mind there is our education programs and our education resources. These programs are all really great. We've got 3 that kind of, come top of mind. The first one is called the Young Ambassadors Program. So this is a program that the Department of Transportation actually funds us to do. This is for high school 10th, 11th, or 12th grade students. They have to apply into this program and then get selected from a review committee. But then what they do is these students are going to spend 9 months with us, and they are going to hear from other community leaders and policymakers. And these students have the opportunity to do a community appearance index. And basically, they're just going through this mini cohort leadership program to come out of this as civic leaders and have, just a little more tools in their toolbox of how to keep their community clean and beautiful. So it's a really great program. We're in our third year of offering that program. We also have the Litter Hawk Youth Award program, and that is something that's a kind of like a contest for kindergarten through sixth grade students. They can share with us, they can do videos or essays or even art projects around a theme that we change every year, that we partner with the Department of Environmental Protection for that. But we have had as many as 900 student applications through particular years with that one. So that's really neat. And probably the most fun part of that is that once the winners of each different grade are selected with that, their artwork is presented in the Capitol building in Harrisburg. And so then the students and their parents get to come for a reception that celebrates them as winners in this program. It's really, really neat. And probably our last education initiative that's really exciting is our Open Your Eyes to Litter series. So that is an anti-litter curriculum, and it focuses on some of the things that I've talked about, changing behavior and influencing positive behavior in terms of litter. And this is a series of 5 different booklets that are available on our website. They can all be downloaded. Most of them are translated into other languages, and they also have a teacher's guide that accompanies those. And when I say that those are a curriculum, those actually address PA Department of Education academic standards for environment, ecology, and geography. So any teacher or scout leader that wants, some Earth Day activity can just come to our website and find everything they need there for those education materials.
And just while I have you, what is your website where they can go and find these materials?
It is keeppabeautiful.org. And then you can go program by program. We've got grants listed there. We've got awards and tons of resources.
So as we discuss the future, obviously, as this organization, America's 250th anniversary is coming up. How do you see Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful playing a role in this historic celebration?
Well, we have been so fortunate to have this great working relationship with America 250 PA. They're such a dynamic group of professionals. They've been so fun to work with. But we're really pleased to be able to offer 2 more years of National PA Day funding for community groups. And now they have to be existing partners through America 250, but they get to apply for those mini grants that I've talked about for projects like community cleanups or park improvements or revitalization efforts, even graffiti abatement, murals, any kind of revitalization project like that. But those interested groups can apply for a range of mini grant funding. Right now, it's between $250 and up to $4,000. They can apply through that funding for a local activation in support of National Pennsylvania Day. This year, National Pennsylvania Day is July 19th. So that's a day that, these groups are going to get out and celebrate and do these projects and use their grant funding that they've secured with us to do all of this great work. And then we're going to, collect all those results and be able to report out just how much of an impact Pennsylvania Day had. And that's all thanks to America 250 PA.
And finally, for listeners who want to help but aren't sure where to start, what are some of the easiest, most impactful actions they can take to make a difference?
Well, I'm going to say that probably the first thing they can do is they can do that, modeling behavior for others to replicate, kind of be the change that you wish to see across Pennsylvania. They can also educate everyone that they know about how important this work is. And if they want to improve their community or their neighbors want to improve their community, they can kind of rally everybody together and do a cleanup. If they go to our website and register with us, we then take everybody step by step, exactly how to do a cleanup, how to do it safely, how to dispose of things that may be, discarded improperly, anything that might not be safe. And then we're going to invite them to come back and, report results to us. Like I said, we want to double these numbers that we have now. We want to, just be able to celebrate the increase of, Pennsylvanians that are joining these efforts and making their communities better every year. And then also, let's say you go out and you do a cleanup and you kind of get hooked on doing a cleanup just like I did. Then the next level of engagement that we offer is a program that's called our Volunteer Steward Program. So that's somebody who, maybe they enjoy doing a cleanup, but they want to take it to the next level and commit to doing a cleanup like twice a year. And we offer that program for waterways. Somebody can adopt their block. They can adopt a park. They can adopt a neighborhood, a street, a non-state maintained roadway, or even a school ground. We've got more than 150 school grounds across the state that are designated litter-free zones where students actually go out and pick up litter on the school ground. So just that idea of being a steward, taking care of a place that you love would be the next step. And we've got all of that information on our website. And there are more than 600 people across the state that are active stewards registering and reporting with us. So that's super impressive. And then, and we'd like to really kind of spoil those stewards sometimes. We like to, just sometimes send Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful swag out in the mail, or maybe you're going to get a t-shirt in the mail or a thank you letter. So we really like to appreciate that group of stewards for how much they work. And of course, now one other thing to mention is that we are this year celebrating our 35th year for doing all of these community improvement projects. So you can also go to our website. You can donate $35 to our efforts to help us continue this great work that is definitely affecting every single neighborhood in the state. And for any listeners that want to get more involved with us, you can feel free to visit our website, keeppabeautiful.org. But we also, we have somebody that answers the phone here at our organization all of the time. So you can also call 724-836-4121, and you can participate in any of our programs that way. We can mail you hard copies of anything that you need, or you can even just register for the Pick Up Pennsylvania program over the phone. We'll take your registration and your report that way.
Heidi, that's all I have for you today, and it was really wonderful talking to you and learning about all of the amazing work that Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful does. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me and letting me kind of explain all of these different programs that we have.
From our vast forests and winding rivers to the wildlife that depends on clean air and water, every part of our environment plays a vital role in making our Commonwealth such a special place. The work being done by Keep PA Beautiful proves that small actions, whether it's picking up litter, organizing a community cleanup, or choosing sustainable habits, really do add up to a cleaner, healthier Pennsylvania. And as we look ahead to America's 250th anniversary, there's no better time to reflect on the legacy we want to leave future generations. A huge thank you to Heidi Pedicone and Keep PA Beautiful for sharing their work and passion for preserving Pennsylvania's natural treasures. If you're feeling inspired and want to get involved, visit keeppabeautiful.org to find local cleanups, volunteer opportunities, and ways to take action. As always, thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to share it with a fellow nature enthusiast who love Pennsylvania's landscapes as much as we do. Until next time, stay PA proud.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cassandra Coleman, Executive Director of America 250 PA. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. We encourage you to learn more about America 250 PA and send us your podcast ideas at america250pa.org.
This has been the America 250 PA Start Here, America Did podcast, produced by Commonwealth Media Services. Stay tuned for more epic Pennsylvania stories at america250pa.org.